kind of reacting to a couple of people today. This is initially what I ran into when I first saw this jazz. And like the main thing that kind of like set me off away from it is again mob mentality and how it progressed into this really stupid thing. Don't really have a whole lot of sympathy for this guy here. I keep forgetting who he is, and he pops up every now and again on a couple of people that I watch. But yeah, not a whole lot of sympathies. Because, you know, cringe lords doing retarded cringe lord things and expecting to be treated fairly and then playing victim. This is the one I walked into. And for me, I'm like, again, if not for this one person showing some signs of civility, humanity, the word that does not fit humans at all anymore, or ever did, I think this guy probably would have died. Probably. Because I like mob mentality. I don't like mob mentality. This whole protests and strikes and stuff like that. I want more organization and absolute terror when we do what we do, but in a different, more calmed kind of profession. At least until it's time to be on the level of, hey, we're about to tear you apart type situation. And for me, this guy's a nobody. This guy, not this guy. He's cool. So yeah, nobody. Not really worth tearing apart type situation and then catching ires from the crazy Mad King president person that, you know, this guy is getting mobbed, you know, put into power.
Come join us 1 p.m. here. We'll be burning Qurans, standing up against the Somali invasion of Minneapolis, the immediate deportation of Ilhan Omar, and the arrest of the scammer Tim Walz.
So like I said, not very sympathetic.
Nazism, then I'm a Nazi, bitch.
Shut the fuck. So I just want to stress that this was a Nazi rally organized by violent Nazis who pose a direct threat to marginalized people in the community. And showing up to counter-protest open Nazism isn't just morally justified, I'd argue that it is a necessity. So that way other potentially dangerous Nazis get the message that they're also not welcome in the community. And I'm not overestimating the threat that this individual poses.
My whole thing is just make it illegal. If you are openly calling yourself a Nazi in America who fought against Nazis, you probably shouldn't be allowed to walk the streets. It should have been the same thing with the KKK, but America history and us being tied to it and not taking care of that situation when it happened. We never took care of the issue with the South and the Confederates and such and such. We never took care of racism. So this is the reason why we're back in this same dumb shit. We let that wound fester. And now it's finally rotting away our government.
Because Jake was actually charged with assaulting an officer with a baseball bat, and he was one of the January 6th insurrectionists to receive clemency from President Neckpussy. So people in the community, they were right to be worried about the threat that he posed, and they took that threat seriously, rightfully so. And unfortunately for him, he found out the hard way that all of the support that he sees online for Nazism isn't actually reflective of reality, because real people still Don't fuck with Nazis. Local ABC News affiliate KJCT reports only a small number of people showed up for Lang's demonstration, while hundreds of counter-protesters converged at the site, yelling.
And that to me is a beautiful thing. And I want it to be ramped up to an even higher degree. There is a video that I would like to get to at some point that basically shows the numbers that I want to swell. And not just particularly for these guys, not particularly just for ICE. I am looking at politicians. I'm looking at judges. That's where my main focus and thought process is on. You should show up at their place of work, at places that they like to eat. Show up at school. Don't go into the schools. There is another situation that I personally don't 100% agree with, but I'm not against. And I'll get to as well later on in the video. But yeah, pop up there while they're picking up their kids. Make it very clear. Vote correctly. Judge correctly. Because we are watching you. And show up in greater and greater numbers each freaking day.
Over his attempts to speak and chasing the pro-ICE group away. They forced at least one person to take off a shirt that they deemed objectionable. Lang appeared to be injured as he left the scene, with bruises and scrapes on his head. MAGA, you are not received him falling later, but at the end of the day, I do think that marginalized people in the community.
I mean, hey.
Weeks to antagonize protesters specifically. And if you're not familiar with Jake Long, you probably know his buddy, because last week, or the week before that actually, he went viral after Renee Good was executed because he said the following.
And all you liberal commie motherfuckers, keep your hands to yourself, or you're gonna get hurt today, alright? We executed one of you yesterday.
So to be clear, we're dealing with...
Yeah, I have no idea who that guy is actually. I've seen more of Long, the guy getting hit in the face. Jake Long? Jake Long. I think American Dragon. Anyways, yeah, see more of this guy than I have of the other guy. But I've heard his rhetoric before from other ICE agents. That's another damning thing that definitely needs to get fixed. Like I said, military, police, and ICE are very affected with these weird action movie mindset or cringe lords, edgelord weird guys that want to be justified and vindicated for their very bad takes. It's all right to be wrong. Scripturally speaking, you know, that's what repentance and all that jazz is for. Repent and change your ways. These guys need to accept they have a pride issue. They're wrong and fix themselves. But they won't. Because that means they have to be losers. Which is, again, okay. I'm wrong in some situations. I am weird in some situations, and I need to fix myself or adjust myself or hang with a different crowd because I don't fit in that square hole or whatever. It's a meme. Random tangents aside, it's all right to be wrong. Change your ways though when you acknowledge that. But pride is the showman, or the one that thinks is the showman, but it's truly just a clown. They can't acknowledge that they're wrong because they don't want to be the fool. Getting to the issue at hand, though, I think it was around.
And nobody was there to stand up for me.
Well, the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and the to be deported as well, and she wasn't the hero.
We literally just go around the block, and I'm like, you know what, like, you need to get out.
Oh.
My God, like, was he just...
That's actually
dense. The lesson for the rest of us is that you're not going to cleanse their souls of hate by showing them kindness. No matter how hard you try, no matter how nice you are to them, even if you come to their defense, fascists will never ever view marginalized people as equal because they fundamentally don't view them as human beings.
facts. Pride issue. The proud will always be better, greater, even when they're falling on their faces, shit in their pants. They will always be superior, which is why they're always the clown. They act like the ringleader, but they are the fool. The issue with pride is a superiority complex that is undeserved. Sometimes they have the skill, and maybe that's what props them up and starts them down this ego trip. But they start thinking themselves far greater than what they actually are.
These people can't be reasoned with. Make of that what you will. And I do feel bad for the trans woman and her friend who's getting well. But once he was far enough away from the crowd, he then jumped into a random vehicle with two women and begged them to drive away. But unbeknownst to him, that car belonged to a woman of color and her trans friend who also happened to be an...
Actually, hold on, go further back. The comedian guy wasn't too interesting. This jazz, because it was I was like, he said he fell or whatever like that, but I noticed that the dude in the blue backpack is the one that knocked him over. I'm like, be honest with the overall situation, because I'm assuming he went over this, and I'm like, I don't know. This is me assuming, so I'm not even going to actually say that one. But yeah, dude got knocked over. And then Pete starts swarming. And I think the black dude's still trying to.
So he showed up, puffing out his chest, talking tough online.
What's your body count, man?
Yeah, the comedian.
He's never going to get that.
Funny.
It wasn't for my... He was tended to by a black woman who happened to be wearing a hijab. Now, as a self-proclaimed Christian, LOL, you would think that...
And yes, self-proclaimed. Many people will be, Lord, Lord, have I not done this and this in your name? The scripture talks about false prophets. It talks about stumbling blocks. So, yes, point out those wolves in sheep's clothing. Go into the church and turn over some tables. To some degree, because some people, non-believers, sorry, it's true, will be doing that a little too gleefully. Your hearts are not in the right place.
He would interpret their kindness as some... It is extremely...
Hold on.
Sort of a sign that God was maybe trying to teach him something. And he talks about...
I 100% agree. I'm like, how can you go through these experiences and not grow from it? How do you not learn? But again, pride is a fool. Their hearts are too hard. Their ears are covered in full of beeswax and just shit. Literal shit that they dug from their own ass. Prideful people. I'm trying to find that one thing where he chased them to the car, because that was like, for me, that was extra.
Them to drive away, but
they opened the door. You chase them to the car.
Unbeknownst to him, that car belonged to a woman of color and her trans friend.
They start kicking and throwing shit inside.
And who also happened to be...
That is where I'm like, you fucked up dramatically. Him, he is indeed an asshole and whatnot. But again, with the mob mentality, lacking the mob mentality that I would like. He's fleeing for his life, potentially, very likely. Whether they got the mentality to kill him or not. Because all it takes is one bad fall. That dude that pushed him over, if he happened to push him a little sooner or a little later, if he happened to hit his head on the little stone pillar, get a concussion, die, president decides to go do martial law or something. Then what? Granted, yes, this president is pushing us into some crazy collapse civil war. If the whole conspiracy of him being a Russian plant is true, he is getting his money's worth. This is like, Russia did good by finding this idiot. This dementia-ridden idiot. I'm not sure if anyone remembers that conspiracy, but I definitely buy into it. Hasn't been confirmed yet, but yeah, this is the part that I didn't like. This is why I'm highlighting this particular portion. You surround the cars. These people got nothing to do with nothing. Me personally, if that happened to me, I would have ran over somebody. I would have kicked that dude's ass and then drug him to the hospital. Broken legs and all. His broken legs. I would have been perfectly fine. Because I'm like, yeah, nah. None of this drama shit is remotely got nothing to do with me. And you're going to open my door. Like I said, probably wouldn't have left you with the protesters. Probably would have made some jokes at your expense, especially if I actually knew who he was. Because, again, memory special. But he would have got his ass kicked. Potentially. Very likely. In the initial moment of my car being surrounded and people throwing shit into my car and opening my doors. I'm just saying. I hate mob mentality. I love mob mentality. Hate this down here. This is the jazz that I was talking about also. I support this to some degree. Don't think they should have went inside. They could have protested outside, been loud as shit, blah, 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 bring some speakers, blocked up the whole the outside of the parking lots and blah, blah, blah. I was going to say the inside of the parking lot, but yeah. Would have been very effective. And then dude's going to try to bring up the whole disrupting of the Lord and stuff like that. But I'm like, y'all ain't doing shit of the Lord anyways if you got a pastor that's cool with this ICE shit.
You're seeing a number of Christian Americans not just resisting Trump's foreign policy, but also divided over his actions on immigration. And with that, there's a question of whether a church is an appropriate or legal venue for protesting. Right now, because on Sunday, you had roughly 24 protesters interrupting a church service in St. Paul.
And I would view it basically churches, a person's house, schools on relatively the same kind of area or same level. And that's the only reason I'm like, probably not so much of inside the church. The only reason is that whole situation I said earlier about Christ going in and turning over the tables and blah, blah, blah like that. They were actively, trying to turn the whole church thing into like this capitalist weird, I was about to say utopia, but trying to think of it, apocalyptic or something to that effect. Point being, it wasn't what it was supposed to be. So I'm like, yeah. They, on this situation, were just doing stuff. They were just having a regular church service. The fact that one of the pastors is doing something that's, again, not the best is where I would disagree with. And I got no problem protesting that. Circle around, surround the church, blast your speakers, and make it very well apparent that, hey, picture of this man, name of this man, is supporting ICE. He is terrorizing or supporting these terrorists, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not the only Christian believer, churchgoer, that thinks this, because it's also being organized by another, as we will see soon.
You had them going to this church because they had found out that one of the pastors is also the acting director of the city's ICE field office for enforcement and removal operations. Or with them actually being named in a lawsuit accusing ICE and its employees of having, quote, acted to suppress this dissent by abducting United States citizens and holding them incommunicado for hours like the mass secret police of pre-World War II Germany or Pinochet's Chile.
Like I said, I'm not totally against it. I mean, shoot. I left one of my churches just because I started hearing some Trump supporting-ish vibes, and I just wasn't feeling it. That's not the only reason I left, but it definitely did not make me feel as comfortable being there at all with those kind of elements being present.
And then with that saying, they have pepper sprayed, violently subdued, and aimed assault rifles at protesters and observers, and even followed observers home to scare them in a tactic lifted straight from the mafia. Now, with all that, it's not clear.
Like I said, mob mentality, but differently and reversed towards ICE. And again, my main focus, judges, politicians, Democrat and Republicans, because the way some of these Democrats are talking, I'm just saying, get the message. The judges that seem to want to let Trump do whatever he wants to do need to get the message also.
Whether this pastor was present during the protest on Sunday, but you did have journalist Don Lemon there covering the event and speaking to people on both sides, which actually included the pastor who was apparently leading the service at the time. And he said,
I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship.
You've also now had...
I argue, if you support this kind of president, are you an actual Christian? I again point to, Lord, Lord, have I not done this in your name? Have I not praised and worshiped? Have I not cast out demons in your names? And the Lord said, turn away from me. I do not know you. You can claim all you want. If at the end of the day, you're not certain, that fear and trembling needs to be in your heart. 100%. I fear and tremble all the time. I'm not living that wild of a life at all. And I am fearing and trembling. Those prideful fools, yes, I don't trust that man.
Trump claiming that these protesters were professionals who have been highly trained to scream, rant, and rave like lunatics in a certain manner.
Don't trust or
law enforcement and the
for a single thing that man has to say.
Desecrating a house of worship, places of religious worship, which was actually passed largely in response to a sharp rise in violence and other tactics meant to intimidate abortion providers and patients and physically block access, making it a federal crime to use force, threat of force, or physical obstruction to interfere with someone obtaining or providing reproductive health care. But the law also applied to places of worship, and so now it could possibly be relevant to this case. So I'll say a big thing.
I'm interested in what's going on back there now, just a little bit. But I'm trying to not scratch this little recording on forever. So I'm kind of going to go towards here.
Themselves, right? And that includes one of the an 11-year-old girl. But, with this whole situation, well, you've had the Trump administration framing this protest as an attack on Christians. At least some of the protesters, they identified themselves as Christians themselves, right? And that includes one of the organizers, a civil rights lawyer, who also says that she's an ordained reverend, right? And so with that, she claimed that she wanted to make members of the church aware that one of their pastors was involved in Trump's immigration crackdown, saying to have someone in the role of a pastor also being in that role as an overseer is unconscionable. And then adding that Jesus called out religious leaders for their hypocrisy and argued that that's part of our duty as Christians.
A lot of the whole Old Testament prophets and all that stuff like that was literally calling out the people, the chosen people. Which is why we need to also look at Israel and be like, hey, so-called chosen people. Which some of them, yeah. But some people are scratching with that whole thing of, my great-great-great-grandpappy, twice removed. He was related to the guy who got married in, and yeah. Little $5 Indian type vibe-ish thing going on there. But nevertheless, it's not about God with these people. So I agree with this lady here. I think it should have been a little bit more organized, and they probably should have stayed outside and just made it loud as hell. And this Nicki Minaj situation, because as far as I'm concerned, that chica is a sellout.
Lemon saying in an email to NBC News that it's notable that I've been cast as the face of a protest I was covering as a journalist, especially since I wasn't the only reporter there, and adding, the framing is telling, but what's even more telling is the barrage of violent threats along with homophobic and racist slurs directed at me online by MAGA supporters and amplified by parts of the right-wing press. And actually, among those responses, you had rapper Nicki Minaj. You had her launching a homophobic attack.
Like I said, set up. The whole Trump situation and this jazz and so much more. I don't know if it's the desperation to stay in some form of relevance or what. This is disappointing. It's not even like I had a lot of rappers on a high pedestal to begin with. I think I can count on one hand, the rappers that I actually like kind of dig. Emphasis on kind of, and then the actual dig, because I mean, like, J. Cole I actually like. Eminem I actually like. T.I. is a little for me now. Common, but still kind of up there. Kendrick. Someone talked to me about that too, like how J. Cole and Kendrick are like the two different spectrums for black culture at the moment. But yeah, this is not even what this is about, because I got other videos to get to. But yeah, sellout Chica. Wasn't high on the pedestal for me to begin with, and just falling off even more. Very disappointing. But going on, this beautiful thing right here, that is what I wanted to talk about. This is the mob mentality, at least the numbers that I wanted to get to. Because imagine showing up to a preschool like this, or showing up to a restaurant like this. Dude comes out, judge man who just gave Trump the okay, and he sees this. Not even angry. Just dead silence. As we escort him to his car. Or her. I'm just saying. Showing up to the White House like this. Showing up anywhere like this. It starts off as just one person, and it just gets to greater and greater and greater numbers. That's the mob shit I want. That is the mentality and the terror that I want to instill. Because they may have the military, but they will never have that. This president, these politicians, their greed and all that jazz like that. No corporation, no president, no military can compete with that.
Everything I'm saying is very reactive right now. I have not sat with these thoughts, so please, be patient with me. Figured I'd jump on real quick. The death cult strikes again. ICE killed another person today. A couple things are pretty clear. It's interesting to see, what Twitter wants to show me. When I searched, did I search ICE shooting? Yeah, I searched ICE shooting.
Slow down the footage of the ICE shooting that just took place in Minneapolis, Minnesota. You can see that the ICE agents very intentionally remove the man's weapon from his waistband and toss it off to the side. If I pause it right here, you can see that the ICE agent took the man's weapon and is throwing it to the side. After they shoot this unarmed man and he's lying there on the ground motionless, look, you can see his feet on the ground right there. They continue to dump bullets into.
But yeah, this was ugly. Specifically here, though, is like ICE agents come to try to subdue him. It's like 5 dudes, and they're wrestling him to the ground. And in the middle of wrestling him to the ground, one of them shoots him in the face. He's clearly not posing a.
It isn't. Where is it? Right here.
They comes on the ground. There we go. There we go. So you see, they push what looks like a woman here, right? ICE agent comes, pushes her over, and the guy isn't doing anything. He's just trying to help his friend. They pepper spray him.
Pepper spraying him. They're pushing him down to the ground. They take his gun, though they say that he was a threat because he had a gun, and then they shoot him. He dies, and they continue to shoot him. And I can't remember if it was a Democratic politician or something like that. They tried to throw up this whole thing of putting a QR code on these guys and letting us scan the QR code to report these guys or something. Like, they're standing still long enough for us to do that, and the second they see our phones, they're already acting crazy anyways. Hold on.
And there you go. Yeah, I'll leave it there because I don't know the rules. I don't know the rules for Twitch. I don't want to, get clapped. Psycho Sturgeon says, things are starting to feel very helpless here in Minnesota. I just listened to the government statement. It's the same, stay civil as we're being killed. Try to get from yesterday to the back of my head through all of this. So I would say...
he's attacking because it's the blue state. The blue peoples is being like, hey, try to stay civil. And I'm like, to some degree. But if you're not going to bat, at what point do we start succeeding? At what point do we stop being civil? I'm just saying. The proper processes are not being done. There's too many soft tootsie footing around.
I would say the strike from yesterday is still the big story. Look at this.
Absolutely glorious, beautiful. And it can only get bigger. That is my only mindset. It can only get bigger. Because I know that's not everybody. It will never be everybody. I don't know. Shoot. I'm not going to say that because maybe one day I will. I just need the right mindset. Not the mob mentality. The mob mentality. Because that is beautiful. It's not quite there yet, maybe. But it is absolutely glorious.
That's the story right there. Like, not to take anything away from Alex Preddy, but I'm getting genuine chills looking at this. This is what needs to happen. Because this isn't a protest. This is a strike. This is a general strike, and my understanding, the largest American general strike in like a generation, essentially, in 10 below degree.
I despise the cold, but if I heard something like that was actually going on, if I saw that outside of my work building, I would leave. Clock out and leave. Whatever the fuck. I am glad it's staying out of Virginia because there are people that I work with that if they ever did try to mistake, I would be involved. peeps just trying to live their life. There's a 70-something-year-old dude who works 2 jobs. I'm thinking it's 3. Not 100% sure. Working hard here. Harder than I have ever worked. Harder than any of these guys have probably ever worked. Trying to make a living. And you got disgusting haters. Envy. Prideful. Disgusting people who would try to take that away. Not that that dude needs to or should have to work that hard. Don't know what he's working hard for. Whatever it is, I'm hoping that he gets to a point where he can just kick his feet up and relax. And on my own personal feelings, I'm like, retire. Enjoy your life, man. You have worked hard long enough. And if I saw any ICE agents lay a hand on that old dude or my boss or etc., I would flip. Because these people are just trying to work and make a living. So damn right I would leave and clock out to join that. If that was on some real mob shit. Real.
Now, in a perfect world, because I know we're talking about Walls and whoever else, in a perfect world, you would have Democrats or anyone but Democrats, right, in office calling for a general strike, calling for mass public demonstrations, not just go out and protest one day. Nobody goes to work for the next, we'll start with 48 hours. You get the mayors of all of these blue cities. Like if you could get, like if Zoran Mamdani wants to win me over forever, and I will glaze that man to the end of the earth, to the end times. If he gets all these blue mayors together, he goes to get Brandon Johnson, whoever's in LA, whoever's in Minneapolis, whoever's in all these states, Chicago, already said Chicago, Seattle. And he says, look, in unison, we running the risk, but he say, look, we strike. You shut down all these blue enclaves, these blue major cities. You shut down their financial districts. You shut down their infrastructure for 48 hours to start. You know what I mean? Tablecloth says we're going to see Mamdani shaking hands with the director of ICE for the end of the year. I guarantee it. Aside from whether or not he's that bad, I don't think he's that bad of a politician. That would just be bad politics on his end. But like there needs to be mass public demonstrations. I'm sorry, mass public divestment, I really should say. Yeah, it would do something because like they care about money. They care about money and they care about, like, chaos is the worst thing. You can't, somebody said supply. You can't get logistics. You can't get resources and materials from A to B. You look at what France does every 18 months. France is the French are in the streets every 18 months. And every time they do it, they get something out of it. I don't know what they're getting. I don't know if it's the greatest thing ever. I don't know enough about France, but if you're paying attention, they get something out of it every time. And they don't want us to get into the habit of that here. Lozana Boy says the people in charge can't afford to lose money for a second. They're over leveraged as it is. I don't know the numbers, but you don't need you don't need an overwhelming majority of people for a general strike to be significant. Hellbell says white fence sitters are going to radicalize too because they feel threatened and targeted by the boot. So, yeah, actually, no, I agree with you. So, I talk about the death cult, right? I had the whole death cult video. But the thing I pointed out in the end is that this is happening because while it doesn't feel or look like it, we are gaining momentum. We are in a more...
The thing is, as he calls it, the death cult, like in the Humanist Report, we would outnumber 100 to 1. Them getting radicalized isn't really a whole lot. Because again, not a whole lot of people support them. They're the crazy, trigger happy, action movie gun nut people, or the crazy cringe lords, or the incel never touched a girl in their life type situation, or absolute batshit crazy mental health necessary conspiracy tinfoil guys. And to some degree, I can hear some of them on some of their conspiracies and stuff, but to some degree, I can acknowledge some of their issues, but the roundabout way they decide to go about it, just like with the protest, yes, I don't agree with that either. I disagree with them more, if anything, than just why I lean more left. I am more so centrist, whoever the fuck decides to actually bring a solution is where I actually lean. That's my leaning. I don't care if you're left, right, king, or dictator, as long as you actually bring solutions. The second you are no longer useful, you need to cut that branch off, throw out the whole system, if it need be, and move on to another one. If, which is definitely not the case, Trump was actually good for this country, I wouldn't care. Until he's no longer not, in which case the entire system needs to go. This system as current, because the way it has been for so long, we have created this situation. Democrats and their slow change have created this situation. I lean more towards them, but I do not support them. Because this whole slow change for the love of money, I don't completely go with the left either, because I don't agree with everything they do. But at the same time, that progressive jazz is definitely, I would love universal health care. Getting paid weekly or something. There's a lot of things that I would love to see get thrown on the table that current established Democrats just don't even want to hear. Republicans totally try to destroy. This entire system, the swamp needs to be drained. It's just unfortunate we decided to throw more poison into the water that was already poisoned. And then we decided to go with this slow, methodical process to take care of the person that is problematic and let it get over the finish line. He gets elected, and then all of the whole hearings and everything just gets tossed to the side. The Epstein files. This stuff is blowing up because of the Epstein files. I truly do believe that someone else, as I scroll through the rest of these videos, will bring it up. But you don't hear too much about it. And it's not because it's not on people's minds. It's just there's so much shit going on.
More powerful position than we've been in. And so when you see mass demonstrations like this, the response is probably going to be like whenever Trump addresses this, if he still...
He does also bring up something else that I do want to, I'm hoping that he brings up. I think it's towards the end. The type of people who are actually getting involved versus the people who... I'll let him do it.
Alive. Are we close to a revolution? I don't think so. Not probably the one you're imagining. We're Matter summer 2020. I think like organized Midwesterners. This isn't California. This isn't, doesn't mobilize, wasn't going to do anything to begin with. In Minnesota. Minnesota's also like a deeply blue state. Yeah, white people who are getting shot in the street is crazy. Whoever this doesn't mobilize wasn't going to do anything to begin with. I mean, yes and no. But it is something for us to be paying attention to white people as victims of state violence right now. I can't think of, chat, when has this happened recent in my lifetime?
And personally for me, again, because when stuff like that happens to us, it just kind of becomes a situation. When it starts happening to white people, it tends to get a little bit more traction because of history of America. As much as I don't like that, but it is what it is. It's typically also why you see more of a wave of them out there than you do see a wave of us out there. And talking with some of my coworkers and whatnot like that, as far as they're concerned, it could be worse. But I'm trying to tell them that, bruh, it could get very similar to like it is over there. The stuff that you were trying to leave could very well become the stuff over here, just different management. Because God forbid ICE decides to come over here. And I'll fight for you. I really will. But that's a horrible way for you to find out your kids getting used so you can get deported. That's a horrible way to find out there ain't no difference between over there and over here. It is better here right now at the moment. But if we don't demand for better,
last 40 years. I wouldn't call Charlottesville state violence. Ashley Babbitt, wasn't that the January 6th girl that got killed? Yeah, we're talking about state violence. We're not talking about like white terrorist violence. We're not talking about cult stuff. Because that's what makes it, see, you peep what I'm doing here. Going back to my video, when it's cult stuff and spree shooters and white supremacists, I think regular white folks can dissociate. They disassociate when it's a cult. But when it's state violence, when the police, because everybody knows the police kill plenty of white people unarmed, but it doesn't get a lot of attention and it doesn't feel like state violence. But the rest of this stuff is state violence. Like what we just saw, the man that just got murdered in Renee Good, that is state violence, and that's different. Something in me, maybe something foolish, feels like that's new enough to do something. Nerd That Was Promised says, also ICE being seen as outsiders is a big factor. Even white people don't see ICE as their local neighborhood cops. They see ICE as an invading army. The moment they started killing their neighbors, it's instinctual. How do you counteract state violence at this scale? Right here. So specifically to get the ICE shit to calm down.
there was something I wanted to look at too, because actually I was curious what these peeps had to say.
An immigrant, and later on, when he got to the hospital, he was tended to by a black woman who happened to be wearing a hijab. Now, as a self-proclaimed, feel bad for the trans.
What is going on?
That's not actually the case. They were just at the wrong place at the wrong time, and they didn't know who he was. But I want to share the video that they released because they clarified what happened, because they wanted to make it clear that they don't support ICE or what ICE is doing, and they don't support fascists. But here's what they say happened.
We see him run up to our car and he's like, can I please get in? Can I please get in? Like, they hurt me so bad, da-da-da-da. That's all the context we have. So in our heads, it's like, oh my God, like, was he just attacked by ICE? Like,
We
he
thought
in the
ICE was
protest?
after him, so we're like, okay, whatever, like hop in the freaking car real quick. And then all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of people coming here and storming us and like beating up the car, ruining the car, pulling this dude out. Like, what is
Like,
going on?
surrounding the car from every single angle.
Now, I can actually see them thinking that it would have been ICE attacking, but technically speaking, I'm like, a person getting beat up in general, you would kind of react. So, but yes, them, that shock and awe, realizing as a group what is going on. that you're just flooding out into a random person's car.
And yeah, we had no idea what we was getting ourselves into. It's just like we saw an injured man, so like obviously we're gonna help because we're not bad people. What? And I don't know him.
So we literally just go around the block, and I'm like, you know what? Like, you need to get out.
Yeah, we're still in
Like,
the same
what
spot.
is going on? Like, whose side are you on right now? Because, like, this is not okay. And I'm just getting super weird, bad vibe from this dude. And he's just like, oh, Trump something me. I gotta owe him back. And I'm just like,
Yeah, he was
I
like,
don't care
Trump
what
saved
Trump
me.
did for you. Like, ICE is fucking shit.
As
like,
fuck.
who are you? Like, who are
So yeah, ultimately I'd be relatively in the same boat. I'd probably kick his ass though. Low key. Like, once I got into context of what's going on, you fucked with Trump. You decided to do a bunch of fuck shit. And you thought that jazz would be okay. You found out it wasn't. You fucked around, you found out. You hop into my car because you fucked around and found out. I'm going to take you to the hospital. But I'm breaking your legs. That's just me. Depending on how pissed off I am at the overall situation. If I'm not too pissed off, I will take him to the hospital. I will make jokes the entire way. And tell him, remember, a black person dropped you off and saved your life. I mean, even if I break his legs, I'm probably going to remind him that.
This all to say that I really don't think it's a stretch to say that the federal government is waging a war against its own people, those living in blue states in particular. And I can't help but think that the Trump regime, either wittingly or unwittingly, is tugging on the threads that could cause the entire.
I think very wittingly. No Republican, no actual Republican, doesn't know what's going on. And the fact that they're just sitting around cool with this. That no one's said anything, pushed back, fought back, and it's gotten to this point. I'm just saying. Which is why all of them need to go. The entire Republican Party demolished. Start over. Call it something else. Rebranding. But it's not the same candy wrapper. Something totally different. Democratic Party. We're going to get to you soon. But, yeah.
Country to unravel, it really feels like we're witnessing the beginning of the end. Is that hyperbole? Maybe. It's just really hard to be objective and gauge how consequential moments in history are when you're living through them. But with that being said, if one's goal was to destroy the country, I can say with confidence that the Trump regime is doing everything that they can to make that a reality. For example, he announced,
like I said, Russia is getting their money's worth out of this man. Kind of ish, sort of ish, but yeah. Like, the goal weaken America. He's done it. And it's so sad because the dumb, retarded racist. I'm like, the fact that you hate that badly that you can't see that you are drinking poison. Something. It's almost pitiable. Almost. Prideful and the racist. I guess, yeah, no. In order to be racist, you have to have some pride issue. Yeah. Anyway.
that he'll be illegally cutting off funding to entire states that have sanctuary cities. It's essentially collective punishment, not to mention, as the Associated Press points out, he's already tried to do this twice, both in his first and second term, mind you, and both attempts were struck down by courts. But now that he's gone full dictator, he doesn't feel restrained by the courts or Congress, which is why he's also threatening to invoke the Insurrection Act and denaturalize U.S. citizens, and subtly suggesting that the midterm elections should be canceled. canceled. It's why his regime raided the home of a journalist in a blatant attempt to uncover her 1,000 plus government sources who are leaking information from within the regime. It's why his billionaire...
There are more politicians than there is Trump. There are more judges than there are Trump. There are more people than there are politicians. All of this stuff stacked upon each other. I just saw these videos almost back to back, kind of spread out throughout the week. And I just kind of wanted to string these together, because this is absolutely crazy. I cared about this one for one particular reason, and it was because I saw a person that...
Impression of a Democratic representative who's been watching minorities get brutalized by ICE for the past year. Oh shit! Oh, god damn! They are so underfunded. Oh, wow.
This is unconstitutional. We must protect our democracy. Great. How are you going to do that? Justice will be served.
Cool. When?
This is not who we are as a country. Okay. We need to save America.
Yeah.
I'm glad I did not stop, because I almost forgot about this. I do enjoy this. Because again, yes, Democrats, what are you going to do?
Yes, we agree. Go do that.
I just need $5.
God.
Slavery lasted over 200
Hey! I ran into her videos on Instagram. So, just nice to see her make it off the reel and into somebody else's thing, and hopefully she launches from there.
years. Because progress takes...
Don't completely agree with everything either on her jazz, but cool peeps. Just, yeah.
time.
You know how many strongly worded letters I could write with this bad boy?
We're the Democrats. We protect trans people. Or protect sports from trans people. What the is gonna make y'all for us? You're so needy!
A woman's right to choose is so important, and we're trying to legislate that. But it's a tough and difficult process.
I just passed the Fuck You Die Act. It's an act where you get fucked and die.
You can't afford a single-payer system. We just can't. It's just too much money, and we
Hey
have...
there, if you join my new personal army, you get paid $100,000 each and $50,000 sign-on bonus, and you get to kidnap people and you can kill people.
Guys, I'm just a widow baby. I can't do anything. I can't pass anything. I can't do anything. I'm just a little baby.
I can do literally anything.
$1 trillion to Israel.
$1 trillion to Israel.
I just love, like, his wasn't the funniest. The glasses shifting a little bit and then just totally flipping. Just cute stuff. Sometimes you gotta love the internet. Stupid stuff is actually kind of fun sometimes.
You just watched a short compilation of hilarious Gen Z TikTokers that I put together who tried to satirize the modern day Democratic Party. And I mean no disrespect when I say try, because those skits were great. It's just that we've reached a point where the Democratic Party's supposed resistance to Trump's fascism is so embarrassingly pathetic that it's almost impossible to parody them because their behavior is indistinguishable from satire at this point. Take this 2020 tweet from Ben Rosen, for example, where in response to Republicans having the military abduct protesters and throw them in unmarked vans, he says the Democratic Party's response would be to mark the vans. And that's essentially their response to Trump's ICE Gestapo, because rather than calling for the entire agency to be abolished, which is what we all want, here's just one of the solutions that they've cooked up.
So I have legislation that would require ICE agents and Border Patrol to wear uniforms that contain QR codes, which you could scan from.
This was the video. And dear God, hearing it again. Is it me, or does this man's face seem so punchable right now? God, help me. I don't even want to continue right now. Seeing his face actually hurts. We're gonna skip.
And in real life. Excuse me.
He's about to make a skit about it. But oh my goodness, humans.
Officer, do you mind holding still while I scan your QR code? Because I do want to report you to Secretary Kristi Noem immediately, and I'm sure she will take disciplinary action when she finds out how uncouth your behavior has been, sir. Like, bro, they're gonna tell you to fuck off and then blast you in the face point blank with chemical weapons. What is this supposed to accomplish? I mean, the thought process that goes into some of these solutions that they cook up is just mind-boggling to me. But I mean, this is the game that Democrats always play. A popular sentiment emerges. This time it's a call.
Actually, yeah, that was another thing that crossed my mind. Democrats don't want this stuff that's going on is perfect for them. This is their campaign. We're the better party. Everyone else is shit and slop. So take this milk toast, plain ass bread that will at least nourish you for a couple of days. Tear it in half and it might, last a week. Demand better. If they offer us anyone for a Democratic nominee and they seem like shit, vote for it. Show up in those crazy numbers that I talked about on some mob type shit and demand better.
For abolishing ICE, and rather than riding that wave, Democrats find a way to suppress that popular movement. They did this with Medicare for All. They did this with marijuana legalization. They even did it with a literal genocide in Gaza. And as Michael Denzel Smith put it in this op-ed for The Intercept, abolish ICE is more popular than ever. How will Democrats drop the ball this time? And I love how there's not even an assumption by anyone anymore, including journalists, that Democrats are going to even try to do the right thing or even the politically smart thing, because we all know that there's no point in getting our hopes up because they simply won't. They will not do what we want under any circumstances ever. As Russell Payne of Salon reports, Democratic leadership is explicitly opposing calls to abolish ICE in favor of reforms. And Michael Denzel Smith explains that other Democrats in prominent positions of power are also on the same page. He writes, few, if any, of the Democratic Party's power brokers are willing to side with the likes of progressives like Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who has held steadfast in her support of shutting ICE down. Senator Chris Murphy, the top Democrat on Appropriations Subcommittee, which oversees the Department of Homeland Security's budget, told protesters outside of an ICE office in Washington that their goal should be to make ICE comply with the law. Representative Darren Soto dismissed the...
And if they don't, are you going to arrest them all? What process have you gone to arrest them all? If not more than half, 90% needs to be arrested, thrown in jail, and left alone. The guards don't even help them when the butt raping starts. I'm just saying. That's more so of me reacting emotionally. This is the human half. So, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. My emotions got the better of me. Throw in some salt. But yes, arrest them all.
The idea of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus working to terminate ICE. So after the ICE Gestapo, which is President Neck Pussy's personal paramilitary at this point, executed a person in broad daylight and continues to terrorize communities by going door to door to hunt down immigrants, Democrats, the so-called resistance, aren't even willing to entertain the idea.
And my jazz was, they are not the resistance. They are the spark that has started this wildfire. They are the origin point of this cancer. They are not the resistance. You are the resistance. Those numbers, those beautiful, beautiful numbers, those crowds of people, the collective. That is the resistance. For the people, by the people. And when it starts to look like it ain't for the people or by the people should show up. Which is why I truly do believe there should be some form of federal system that people can actually vote on and be like, hey, we don't like that. 90% of the people of this state say no. ICE get the fuck out. And ICE has to get the fuck out.
Of abolishing ICE. Even the mayor of the city that is currently being occupied is opposed to the idea.
Do you support abolishing ICE?
And if enough people don't like that, this mayor should be kicked the fuck out.
I do not support abolishing ICE. However, I absolutely oppose the way that this administration is conducting themselves with ICE.
So he's not opposed to the existence of ICE per se, it's just that he's opposed to the way that the Gestapo is doing Gestapo-like things. Mind you, he's not going to do anything to stop the things that they're doing that he doesn't like, aside from using naughty words, but even that is a little bit too extreme for our liberal media establishment.
You went on national television and you said to ICE, get the F out of Minneapolis.
I understand there's a level of professionalism when it comes down to politicians and certain things. That don't mean shit at the end of the day. Just being honest. Again, all I care about is what you do as far as policy and does it make things better. Now, if you actually got them the fuck out, maybe I would overlook the whole potty mouth shit. But the fact that you pussed up.
Regret that language? I mean, that doesn't sound like turning the temperature down.
Mr. Mayor, sir, you said that the gas chambers are...
Okay, so they didn't show it. Regardless of the fact. Walking back. Entertaining such a stupid question. I would have, in that situation, said, why the fuck are you asking me such a retarded question? When we have Gestapo-like entities in our city shooting our people and citizens. Potentially realize you could also end up on the other side of that gun. But I'm guessing you support, so you probably won't. Is that who you voted for? Is this what you voted for? Disgusting. Interview over. I'm in the wrong building. Let me find a different news entity to interview. Cadillo.
Are, quote, fucking killing people, it seems. Is it really necessary to use such profanity when describing mass atrocities? Like, this is part of the reason why our so-called opposition party is so weak, because the remaining non-conservative media institutions that we still have are focused on tone policing the meaningless gestures of useless politicians and treating their inaction as if even that is too much. The ICE Gestapo is going door to door, and they are now executing people in the streets and strangling people in concentration camps. I think it's time to wake the fuck up and stop worrying about trivial things like language. But that's the thing. They're never going to wake up. And Democrats aren't thinking of ways that they're going to use their eventual power to carry out the will of the people, because they're instead trying to find ways to meet the fascists halfway and then subsequently pitch.
And if the people don't dig that, vote them out. No one should feel comfortable in their seats. Relatively, I'm going to say. You got a certain number of days or something to show that this vote doesn't need to get pushed through. Or to argue your point and why to the courts and why you should not be voted out. Because the thing that the people want is not just or something to that effect. But beyond that, get the fuck out.
Said collaboration with fascists to us as progress. So that way we feel like we're getting something from them. Case in point, just listen to 2028 frontrunner Gavin Newsom's embarrassing capitulation to Ben Shapiro.
AOC said this week that ICE should be abolished. You disagree?
Oh, I disagree when I think a candidate.
I already know the
Reforming ICE would actually suffice, even though that's not the case. But, like, assuming that they're able to recapture control of the government, what kind of reforms would they actually propose to try to placate the base that's insisting that the entire agency be abolished? Like, you would think it'd have to be
Alex Petty was gunned down by ICE. He was gunned down by Trump's private police, his giddy private terrorist army. Angle after angle has come out showing this broad daylight beatdown and murder of a VA nurse who was just filming ICE and then protecting and helping a woman.
And when I heard VA, I was like, did it actually happen here? I was freaking out for a second. I'm like, when did they come here?
So horrific that it's been indefensible by everyone that'll actually take the minute to look at the video and not just listen or read this administration's lies, except the worst of them, right? You've got people like Stephen Miller, Greg Bovino, and Kristi Noem, and the government, the talking heads who manufacture consent for them in exchange for money, power, and access on TV and social media, and the people who pray at their feet. They called him a domestic terrorist, a would-be assassin who brought a gun to inflict maximum damage.
And this guy doesn't even look remotely close to anything like that. Just a guy out there in the woods enjoying a hike type situation. In comparison to people that I've seen in my life, he looks like he wouldn't hurt a fly. It looks like he'd flinch if he got a paper cut. Something to that effect. Not trying to belittle the man. I'm just saying. But they're trying to compare to a domestic terrorist. When you got people like that to the right. Although, well, no, hold on, I think those aren't it. The actual domestic terrorist, ICE, doing all the fuck shit. This guy versus what these other animals are actually doing.
On ICE agents, despite every angle of video before, during, and after, showing that is just a lie. He was filming, ICE escalated, they beat the shit out of him, it looks like they then disarmed him, and they shot him in the back repeatedly. The Trump administration and the Republicans are telling you not to believe your lying eyes. Lies so egregious that even the normies are, they've just wanted to wait this out and focus on their own lives. They're having to say, what the actual fuck? This is wrong. This can't happen here. But then things are still so far gone that you have so-called freedom lovers with their don't tread on me flags who used to preach First and Second Amendment rights going, oh, well, he should have complied. He shouldn't have been there. He should have been at home. He shouldn't have shown up with a gun that he didn't pull out, a gun that he legally was allowed to have.
While
and was
that
registered,
was going on, he saw the gun being removed, took his gun out, and shot him. Just seems a little suspicious. Interesting.
Those same people will go, oh, well, Kyle Rittenhouse, he's a hero for showing up with a weapon strapped to his chest. And they're exposing themselves as frauds who, when they say don't tread on me, they've really just meant don't tread on us. You can tread on them, obviously. And I need you to understand, they have been projecting for years, right? Talking about these rights. We need these to protect against a tyrannical government that villainizes gun owners, enters your home without a judicial warrant, who would kill them in the streets for exercising their First and Second Amendment rights. A government that protects pedophiles and the elites who prey on everyone else. Amazing how we still don't have those Epstein files because of Trump and his goons, but that's who they run cover for now. Apparently, right, they were saying we needed those protections because they were thinking, well, if I was in power, that's what I would do, right? They would disregard our constitutional rights and destroy opposition, right? And all the while, you've had Trump calling the people against him animals, right, to make their murders feel normal or okay, not of a level where you have to have empathy or feel human connection, yet every day, they are the ones who act like animals, who terrorize and kill your neighbor.
Just saying.
I just want to talk about where we all are mentally right now. And I know it's not good. Mentally, we're all cooked. All
I would like to state I'm just fine.
of us today opened up our phones and for the second time this month witnessed masked federal agents murder an American citizen on the streets of Minneapolis. American citizen who was just trying to observe and protect their own community. For the second time this month, we all then witnessed the Department of Homeland Security lie about that citizen, lie about their intent, lie about exactly what happened, call them a domestic terrorist. We sat through all of this. Again, it's happened twice. It will happen a third time. The question is whether or not it'll happen in Minneapolis, or will it happen in your neighborhood? This is a pattern, and I don't need to recognize too many of them to know that we're in unprecedented times, with the exception of the fact that this has happened in so many countries and places before. This is a human story. We are watching what started as a distraction tactic quickly spin out of control by a dementia-riddled dictator who is trying to protect his pedophile friends. All of this is happening because the Epstein Files Act was passed, the Transparency Act to release the files, and that deadline has passed, December 19th. 1% of them got released. Think about that. How many? What did we see? We saw a series of blacked out pages over and over again.
The second it came out, just a bunch of crazy shit started happening. And it just ramped up since then. But to be honest, if the whole thing was exposed, if he was on it, if he had done a bunch of stuff, not saying if, like, I don't think it's a very high likelihood. If I was a betting man, I would be rich. But still, continuing this hypothetical, what would the Democrats do? They would go through another slow court process for what we all seem to see is obvious, blatant, clear as day shadiness. We all know he stabbed that man. We've seen it. And he said he would stab again. But we're going through this very slow, methodical process that will eventually get buried and tossed aside. And our courts, who seem to be all on his side, are going to just toss it aside and slap him on the wrist, because traditionally we don't get rid of presidents. Scripturally speaking, if a priest or a leader is fucking up, he's supposed to step down. Scripturally speaking, I'm just saying. Going off into politics. It wants to try to base off of a little bit. If a president fucks up, if he's doing criminal activity, if he's starting to seem a little like a dictator, you should be able to remove them, impeach them. It's there for a reason. It's one of those checks and balances that we don't seem to want to use. Why? Because we don't want to be checked and balanced? I can believe it. Humans really don't accept a lot of those corrections. But it's getting to the point where the person in power is about to start checking a lot of people in a very negative way and throwing them into little black boxes, whether that be in the ground or some concentration camp. I'm just saying. Got to be.
Again, we watched the DOJ and the FBI not redact them properly. We watched them then start to pull documents that are already out there with the president's own fucking name on them. They vanished. They then stopped releasing them. What happened? A week later, Elon Musk, the president's good buddy, used the algorithm on Twitter to start to promote this Somali daycare fraud bullshit from Nick Shirley. Nick Shirley, a man who has worked as a foreign agent for both El Salvador and the CCOT prisons and for the nation of Israel, by trying to claim that what was happening in Gaza wasn't a genocide. Nick Shirley's story about Somali daycares in Minnesota was used as red meat justification to send a surge of ICE troops into the streets. They wanted to send troops. They tried sending troops in other places, but they got batted down by federal judges about that. So they started using ICE and CBP. They started sending them in, Customs Border Patrol. We started seeing them use heavier and heavier handed tactics. You started seeing Minnesotans come out and push back against these tactics to protect their neighborhoods and to protect their neighbors. We saw the murder of Renee Good. Nobody's talking about Epstein anymore. Nobody's talking about how we're past 30 days. Nobody's talking about how the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, has spent more time going after Don Lemon than she has going after any of the pedophile billionaires who traveled to Epstein's Island to have 1,200 underage girls get marched naked past them. No one's covered any of this. It's moved to the back burner. It's been cooled by ICE. Now ICE is stealing children, 2-year-olds, 5-year-olds, using them as fucking bait. Using them as bait to trick their families into coming outside. ICE is grabbing American citizens and claiming they have to show documentation when the law itself says that a United States citizen does not have to show identification to exist in this country. We've seen ICE go in to American citizens' homes, strip them and pull them out into the snow in freezing conditions in their underwear, then lie, claiming that they were actually there to go after a sex offender. Only to find out that sex offender was already in jail, already been informed. They've already told DHS, they already told ICE, here he is, come and get him. And instead they used it as a justification to attack a population. We are beyond anything that King George ever did. We are beyond the Boston Massacre. We are beyond what they did to Boston.
Ultimately, this whole thing, I'm just like, protest better, but understand also who we need to be aiming all of our energy towards. Democrat, Republican, judges, and ICE. The grifters, they don't mean shit. If they get in the way, tear them apart. But all you gotta do is show there is one of them per thousands of you. Shut the city down. No corporation can stop us. No president can stop us. No military, unless they are literally about to drop missiles on cities, in which case everybody needs to get in their car the next day or a few weeks later and just head straight for the White House and tear it to pieces, brick by brick, soldier by soldier, molecule and organ by molecule and organ, and start over. Because if it gets to that point, there is no going back. They started the Civil War. Let them feel it. Literally. As it is pulled out of them. That's my political take. Okay, bye.